It was a nice kickoff to the year as far as orders. We've tracked them through November of last year. We get to see December order and deliveries from Boeing or Airbus. But through November of last year, Boeing was beating Airbus in the order game for the year. And so, we had sort of expected this. There were some core customers, I think, that were probably sitting on the sideline watching to see if Boeing was going to get its troubles behind it before it placed orders. And we saw a bit of a bounce back last year in 2025 as Boeing sort of pulled in a bunch of those orders. I think if you're an airline, when you're sort of fleet planning, when you have backlogs that are 10 years large for the most important airplanes, for the narrow bodies, you kind of got to be sort of in the order mode, every year or so many years, sort of topping up orders to make sure that you have airplanes coming regularly as either you're expanding or things leaving your fleet. So good to see Alaska do it. Again, we think a lot of Boeing customers caught up last year. This year, probably a decent order year as well as that catch-up continues for Boeing. And this was a core customer for Boeing. Alaska has been a core Boeing flyer. They recently bought Hawaiian. That added a bunch of Airbus aircraft to its fleet. Not a lot, but a bunch of them, a handful of them, actually more than a handful, 20s or 30s. And I think another indicator that they've kept the Alaska Airlines as a core customer, and I would see them kind of going to a more pure Boeing fleet in the future as they ease out some of those Airbus aircraft.
It seems like a big order for Alaska. Does this signal any change in strategy, or what's going on there?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting, right? Alaska, they're 787 they think dash 10s ultimately when they buy them, the biggest 787. They've got an order for 5 of them. Alaska traditionally had been just a narrow body, kind of U.S., but really West Coast focused airline. Since they bought Hawaiian, they've added international routes. Clearly, they added Hawaii. Hawaiian had routes into Asia where there's a fair amount of demand for Hawaii. Alaska looks to be trying to grow into, a global airline. They've got European service now too. So this is, I think, a continuation of that push by Alaska to be what it wants to be when it grows up, I guess, which is going to be maybe another one of the big U.S. full-service carriers.
Is there room, George, do you think, for another U.S. full-service carrier?
I think if you do it well, there probably is, right? I think, look, you got Southwest coming as well. Southwest is adding premium seating. They're already pretty large in the U.S. They don't have much international, but Southwest is definitely a force to be reckoned with. But they're leaving the old world where they were very much a pure fleet and they could control costs well, going again into the premium and making their operations more complex. Alaska kind of coming the other way. They already have premium, now trying to go global. I mean, I think going back to Alaska, they've got to figure out what they want to be when they grow up, because I don't think they can survive just as a largely West Coast airline. I think Hawaiian was the beginning of that expansion strategy, which included long haul. These follow-on orders, I think, reinforced to me that's the direction they're going. They're going for a global airline. It's going to take a while to get there, but that's what they're going for.
Would regulators ever allow, the combination of Alaska and Southwest, for example?
That's, to me, I think anytime you get some of the big carriers involved in buying somebody, I think it gets difficult. I think it would be hard. I think Alaska would have to look at something maybe smaller, or Southwest I think would be difficult to do an acquisition, maybe a very small acquisition. But if Alaska's getting together with somebody, I think it's kind of JetBlue and down.